Welcome to Rock and Roll Medicine. I'm here with legendary producer Tom Werman. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
You're on the East Coast, correct?
Oh yeah, in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. Heaven
Oh,
on
you're
earth.
way up there.
Yeah. We still get snow and heat and humidity.
Okay.
You know.
I'm in Midwest Kansas City, so
Yeah, Kansas
little.
City. I was. I don't. I think I was there in the 70s and 80s. I'm not. I think I went to almost every state.
That's
But
a nice little travel if you hit every state. I mean, I imagine if
yeah.
you're dealing with bands and whatnot, did you go on tour or just kind of meet them at a different city or just kind of travel around?
Oh no, I went out. I was an A&R man, so I went to see many bands. If I liked the way they sounded, I'd get on a plane and go and see the band. So,
So how did that start out?
you mean how did I get to be an A&R man?
Yeah.
Well, it was a great story. Quickly, briefly, I had an MBA from Columbia, and I didn't know what I was doing. And so I went to business school to kind of please my parents, and they wanted me to be a CEO, and I knew that there was no chance that I had the stuff to be a CEO. But I went, and then I got a job at an advertising agency in New York, working on Procter and Gamble products, and I I became suicidal. I hated it so much that I lasted a year, and then I wrote a letter to Clive Davis in desperation. And lo and behold, they invited me over for a few interviews, and I got to meet Clive, and he hired me on the spot, and
Nice.
and it changed my life overnight. And I went from hell to heaven.
Yeah, right.
So I started out as director, the assistant to the director of A&R. A&R was so basically not unimportant then, but not respected then, that he was a director. And after that, eventually the head of A&R became a vice president. I mean, that was his title. And then eventually a senior vice president.
Wow.
But anyway, I started, with this very nice guy named Larry Cohn. And I signed REO Speedwagon
Oh, nice.
almost right away. And so, they basically the job description at Epic Records for an A&R man was go find hits.
Right.
I mean, that was really it. Um, so you were mostly a talent scout, and I did find Rush and Leonard Skinner and Kiss, and they turned them all down.
Oh, really?
So this eventually Steve Popovich became head of A&R at Epic, and he said, Werman, what have you been doing here for 5 years? And I said, well, you turned down, not you, but I was turned down on Kiss, Rush, and Leonard Skinner, and I signed REO Speedwagon. And he said, is there anybody you're interested in now? And I had seen Ted Nugent, and I said, yeah, Ted Nugent. By the way, Ted and I didn't discuss politics, and are pretty much at the opposite ends of the spectrum, but we still talk, and he's still a great guy. So I took him out to see Ted, and we signed Ted, and I went into the studio, and kind of to protect my investment, and I wound up getting co-producer credit. And that's when I started to move into the studio. And then I signed Cheap Trick and Molly Hatchet and produced them. And then I left CBS.
So I guess my question, were they looking for singles at that time when you started? Or were they
Yes.
looking for because they weren't doing albums. I mean, they were doing albums, but they were looking for singles, right?
Absolutely. And so was I. Um, you know, it was kind of the number one thing for me to be excited about working with a band when I heard their demo tapes and we were talking about, what we were going to record. I needed a single. I need,
Right.
because we had, in those days it was AM radio, play the hits,
Right.
FM albums, and that was it. If you had a hit album, you could sell maybe 500,000. If you had a hit single, you could sell 3 million. So I did want to have a single on most every album, which is kind of how I got into the power ballad rut.
Right. I was that that'll come later on. I was
Yeah,
going to mention that.
right. So then I was kind of on my way. When I left CBS, I went briefly to Elektra Records as senior
Right.
vice president of A&R. That didn't last at all, and they made I left, and after a few months, and they said, "Would you do a production deal with us?" And so I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And that's when I did Motley and Dawkins, and I can't remember the third, but anyway, that was it. Then I was an independent producer for I don't know how long, and when I got to be after 52 records,
Yeah.
producing 52 albums, I was pretty crisp, and tired and 55, and so I said, I'm out of here. I wasn't getting good projects, it's hard. There aren't that many producers who continue to make hits after 30 years,
Right. Well,
so
with the music industry changing as well, it's hard, especially
that,
now. I couldn't even. I mean, it's hard. I listen to the radio and I'm pretty open, and I'm like, how did this guy get signed, or how did these guys get signed,
right.
or you know,
Yeah.
uh, this is what everybody's listening to because I don't get it.
Well, yeah. We tend to channel our parents who always said, "You call this music?"
Right.
So, I once sat my parents down. I was home from vacation in 65, I think, and I played them She's Leaving Home by the Beatles, and I said, "Listen, you cannot deny that this is art." And my mother said, "Well, dear, we'll see if it stands the test of time." And
And
she
what?
wasn't around quite long enough to see that it did. But that they didn't get it. I don't get it because everything is perfect.
Hmm.
There
Yeah,
is
I agree.
there's very little things get repetitive. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
People.
and the tones have changed as well as far as sound, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I listen to when I'm listening to it, the drums have just totally changed. I mean, it's almost like they sound like they're coming out of a computer, right?
Well, they are because
And
because they'll take a really good snare hit and it'll be all the snare hits.
yeah, it's just it drives me nuts. So, and coming from a drummer background, um, I can't say that for guitar or vocals or
Right.
any of that stuff because I don't know enough about it. Other than my dad and my brother play guitar, but it's you know how everything filters in through the pedals and everything like that, or even through the computer. I mean, you can do a one man show on a computer nowadays and be fine, and people are okay with that. I don't know how they're okay with that, but they're okay with that.
Well, I have a friend who still makes records in his bedroom, really, and sends them to me and makes not records, but records songs.
Hmm.
And if you're good on the keyboard and the computer, you can do anything.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, and I knew this to be true, it's more of a single age. It went reverted back to singles rather than full length albums as well.
Oh, I when
So you
people
got
come
that.
out, when people come out with albums now, I'm not sure how that is. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with it, especially for the bands that I like and I grew up on or any of that stuff. I'm okay with it because that's what I want. But
Yeah,
some of the stuff I'm like, okay, I get singles and stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's fine too, I guess. But they don't want to put all the money in what it takes to record an album. They can do a single, shoot, what,
yeah,
4 or 5 singles later, and they can put it together an album and release it, and
right.
you've heard half the album already. So,
That's right. That's true. That's
so,
true.
so getting back to when you started, so did Ted Nugent scare them? Epic Records? When
No, not
not
at
at
all.
all.
No, 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 no. They loved him. He was. I was somewhat instrumental in getting Epic Records into rock and roll instead of kind of MOR.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have the only rock and roll act we had when I joined the label was the Yardbirds.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Really. And that no, Ted, they loved Ted. He was a major personality and he did a lot of promotion. He was into it, the whole thing. He really wanted to succeed. And we got along very well musically. And he's always been very gracious to me in the press and thanks me a lot for helping to safeguard his music. And I understood what he wanted. So,
Well,
and
and
nobody else was interested because he had just left the Amboy Dukes.
Oh, okay.
He was now a solo act, and I didn't know much about him, but I went to see him um, because the manager really talked him up, and he played me a few songs, and I happened to be in Chicago at the time, and I went to see him in the Illinois Institute of Technology auditorium, and and he was wonderful. I mean, I said, why isn't anybody else here looking at this guy? And I said, this is my cup of tea. I can do this, and it happened. We did 5 platinum albums together.
Well, that's what I was to say. He kept you around.
Yeah.
So between you and Cheap Trick, I think those are the most that you did, right? I mean, Cheap Trick, you did quite a few for them.
I did 3 with them, 5 with Ted, 5 with Molly Hatchet.
Okay.
3 with Mötley Crüe.
You're right.
And everything else was pretty much 1 or 2.
Yeah. So when the 80s roll around, you're pretty instrumental as far as like you're in that whole Sunset Strip scene, with Alan Nivens and Zuta as well.
Yeah.
And I talked to Alan Nivens not too long ago, and you guys just seemed so instrumental on what the 80s were going to sound like. I say 83 on, I guess maybe a little bit earlier than that. Is that about right?
I got to LA in 78 because I had determined that I did 1 album out there and I knew nothing about LA, and it was In Color, Cheap Trick. And I looked around after that album. I said, wow, this town is entirely devoted to the entertainment business. And that includes recording. There were like 50 studios and studio instrument rentals. And it was just great. And so I said, we have to move here. And CBS moved me here, moved me from New York to LA, our whole family. And that's around 82, I think, okay, when I left. But Mötley Crüe was already playing.
Right. Yeah.
In 82. Doc and what, I mean, there were many to come who went on.
Maybe I should say brought it to the mainstream as far as what it was going to sound like. Right. So when you get, you're as a producer, and let me put it this way, does the when a band gets signed, does the label hire you, or does the band say, I want to work with Tom and I want it to sound like so and so? I think the other one was Twisted Sister. I think that was the other one,
Oh
right?
boy.
Yeah. We'll get to that one too, but
Yeah. Oh gosh.
but how does that work?
Well, in the very beginning, I worked with Ted and became his co-producer for a long time because I signed him and I kind of understood what he wanted from a recording. With Cheap Trick, I was scheduled originally to do Eddie Money's first album.
Oh, okay.
But Jack Douglas, who did Cheap Trick's first album, was busy with Aerosmith. And so I was suggested as a producer for Cheap Trick, and that worked out. And that was my first solo production. And then I signed Molly Hatchet, and I wanted to produce them. And so I got to do that. Later on, I wasn't exclusive to CBS, so the Tom Zutaut wanted me to do Mötley Crüe because he signed Mötley Crüe.
Right.
And he said I had to do it. And then he also signed Dokken, and he wanted me to do them, Tooth and Nail. And after that, it would be A&R guys from labels. So Tom Wally was at Capitol, and he called me to do Poison. And Doug Morris, who was the president of Atlantic Records at the time, called me at home and asked me, requested that I do Twisted Sister. The story, as we will probably chat about soon, the whole story about Twisted Sister, how I came to produce them, how I produced them, has been so twisted and so fabricated by Dee Snider. It's over now. I really don't care, but it was mystifying how he went out of his way to craft a fable and do his very best to trash talk me. I really didn't get it. Anyway, I did that because the president of a label calls you and says, could you please produce this band that I like? And of course you're going to do it because he'll be 100% behind the product.
Right.
The label president, and so we sold 6 million albums or something.
I was going to say, I love that album. I love the way it sounds. I love everything about it.
Good.
I've heard, I didn't like go out of my way to listen to anything, Dee's whole story or anything like that. I've heard him trash talk you a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me why he did that, where he likes it 1 minute and then turns around and doesn't like it another minute. So, but yeah, that's the biggest album. That's their biggest album, I mean, to date.
It set them up for life. Yeah, really.
Yeah. And, if anybody, and I heard something like that it hurt their careers with the way it was. And I think you responded, or somebody else may have responded.
Oh, yeah, I responded.
No, it was the follow-up album that ruined their careers, because it kind of did. I mean, Love is for Suckers to me is not a good record. As far as like when you listen to Stay Hungry, you're like, okay, I want the next step, because you got the other two before that and they're good. And then Stay Hungry mainstreams them, right? They get all kinds of press, and then I don't understand what happened after that, and or why.
Well, they went to Dieter Dierks, who did, I guess, Scorpions, right? And after Dee made a huge deal about my actually having the nerve to suggest that they cover someone else's song, which was a Saxon song, just one song on the album, he went, he said, we toured with Saxon, but God's sake, and here he is suggesting that we do other people's music. So on the follow-up album by Dieter Dierks, what did they release as a single?
Yeah.
Leader of the Pack.
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever picked that song.
Come on.
I just
that's a major cover. That's a cover of an American hit single.
Yeah. Americana, really. I mean, that's so I like I said, I don't know what the reason was for. I don't know why. Like you said, you set him up. Is he the only one out of the band who's said anything?
Oh no, so, I've talked with JJ and I got along very well with everyone else. My contact was JJ French, and he's a good guy.
Yeah, that's too bad because I think
Yeah. No, it's not. It's no loss.
Right.
I'm very happy to not be in touch with these.
Okay. And there we go. We'll leave it at that and go. So I guess growing up, my number one when I was I want to say 8 to 12, maybe even more than that, was Crüe. I loved everything about him. And everything I thought I read in the magazines, I thought was true. And that goes for any musician because you find out when you read I don't know, I've heard different stories about the Dirt and the Heroin Diaries, what's true and what's not. But so when you did Shout the Devil, was it you that had him change the name from Shout at the Devil to Shout, or
from Shout? Oh, right.
With the Devil to Shout at the Devil?
With the devil? No. I wouldn't get involved in things like that. I might suggest changes in a few lines of a song, but no. That was, Nicky pretty much made all the creative decisions that didn't have. He formed the vibe of that band. I mean, their whole character. I just saw the cat behind.
Yeah. You. Oh yeah. There's a couple of them that are gonna be probably showing their appearance and saying hi. Because I love that album. I love the way it sounds. Was there any? Because I've never heard this, and I don't know if there is or not any backmasking on that one or anything like that.
No, I don't. It's possible. It's 50 years ago,
right?
So no, 40 years ago. So I can't remember exactly. I did a bunch of that. Did some with Cheap Trick. I think we did some. I think we did something because
I was gonna say it sounds like at the beginning, like at the beginning of the album when they're talking, it sounds a little bit, but I couldn't tell you if it was.
It was the Parents Music Resource Committee. What's her name? Tipper Gore's congressional. We don't like these lyrics. It's evil, devil's music, and all that ridiculous stuff. Anyway, so I like to kind of goad them a little bit.
Right.
Say, hey, this is we're doing something evil here. It's backwards. Why don't you check it out and see what it is?
Right.
With Cheap Trick, it was the Lord's Prayer.
Oh. So, and that works as well because you do exactly what you think. You goat them, right? And then they listen to it and go, oh,
oops.
Yeah. So when you're doing, was it your idea to do Helter Skelter, or was it their idea?
I think it was their idea.
Their idea.
I only suggested a couple of songs to Molly Hatchet. It's All Over Now by the Stones, who didn't write it, but who did it on their first or second album. Molly Hatchet did a brilliant job of that one, but I really never. You can't dictate the selections that you record. Mm-hmm. You can say, I really like this, and I don't think this should be on the album. But unless you're George Martin or somebody like that, unless you're the greatest producer in the world, you don't have the power to do that. You don't have the power. A producer, they ascribe so much power to a producer. He made us do this. He made us. You can't make anybody do anything. They're paying you to help them, make the record that they want to make, and they can fire you. They can hire you, and then they whine about he made us do this. He wouldn't let us do that. Bullshit. You do your best. You help. You try to collaborate, but you are not a dictator, and you are not the boss.
That's right. It. So when you're doing like Mötley, are you focused like on Tommy because he's a powerhouse, right? I mean, he's the GOAT, or one of the GOATs in that music world. So when you're listening, do you go, okay, we're gonna ramp him? We're gonna vocal Tommy on a lot of this stuff.
No, what do you mean vocal?
Like maybe him being more prominent.
Oh,
sound wise,
he can't help being prominent.
Yeah, well, that's
he's a fantastic drummer, and it drives the song. He and what do I?
Mick?
This is what happens when you're 80. Mick. He and Mick really were the most satisfying in the studio, and the most prepared and the most proficient. They were great. Tommy was a wonderful drummer, and I didn't change much at all with him. I would suggest that he do this and maybe go on the ride instead of the hi-hat, or maybe change a kick drum figure a little bit, which I did with all the bands. I did that in rehearsal. We would only rehearse the basic track, drums, bass, and rhythm guitar. And that's where we would make little changes. But Tommy was extremely enthusiastic and very productive, and not at all destructive or drugged out or anything. And he was happening. And I felt, as I said in my book, he was the second best drummer I ever worked with. And I really feel that Bunny Carlos was the most fabulous. He was amazing. He was very spare, but he served the songs so well. Yeah. Anyway, Tommy and Vince was tough.
Is that because he wouldn't get in the studio, or is because vocal ability?
He would get in the studio, and he'd put in his time, but he was a party guy.
Oh yeah.
And as I've said a couple of times, he is not the kind of singer in a band who would say, "Girls, it's 2 a.m. and I got to be in the studio tomorrow, so I'm going to check out now." No. And he'd come into the studio and try his best. But, it was difficult. He didn't know the meaning of the word training.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I was going to ask you about that. It's because Vince gets a lot of flack for vocals, right? As far as live performances.
Yeah.
And so, and they always say he can't sing, but other people say he can sing, but mainly in the studio. Is that what you noticed as well?
He can, yes.
Or when he puts his time in and work in, and
these days, I mean, he could definitely sing live back then. He was very good. In the studio, it's so precise and microscopic. You can hear any, deviation from the right note, sharp or flat. And I even bought a special mic for him because I felt that his sound was a little nasal, like he sang
Yes, it
a little
is.
bit through his nose, whiny. Um, but I mean, he's a good singer these days. I mean, I've seen some stuff on Instagram um, that's not it's
No,
not very
it,
complimentary, and there are no you can't understand what he's saying, but hey,
well,
he
it's crazy because
did his
some, you look at like a lot of these bands from the '80s, whether it be, we'll just say Bon Jovi, Axl Rose, their voices are almost shot, and then you look at like Steven Tyler, who just played
yeah,
for Back to the Beginning, and his voice sounds amazing, for him having the issues that he's had,
or
even
Billy Joel.
yeah.
His voice is stronger live now than it was then.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, as they say, you obviously got to take care of your instrument, right? And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
some people just don't do it, and of course, age plays a role, and you
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah.
anything else that you've heard it, if you've heard it over the years, and this and that. But I guess so. Moving on to from Shout to Theater Pain. Now,
Oh
I've
yeah.
heard that some of those are for leftovers from Shout. Is that correct?
It would make sense. I can't say, but it's probable because they're under the gun. They just got off the road
They said it
and
was 2
had a
years,
huge
so
album, and we got to get you out on the road again. So write 12 new songs and make sure there's a couple of hits in there. And here we go. And
yeah,
so they self-medicate,
yeah.
because it's tremendous stress, especially for Nikki. Um, so they probably, every band did that. Cheap Trick especially would take songs that they left off certain albums and rework them, and it came out great. So
Yeah, I mean, well, Metallica's done it with Load and Reload as well, and certain like that stuff like that. So yes, bands have been doing that for
yeah,
a long time. Um, so did you know? So you're recording Theater Pain. Obviously, they do a 180 as far as image, and then you know they do when you hear Home Sweet Home. Did you know that was going to change everything?
well, I knew it was a good radio song, you know, like "Girls, Girls, Girls,"
Yeah,
you know? And
that's catchy.
I can, yeah. I mean, the most extreme example of that kind of "did you know" thing was "Every Rose Has Its Thorn."
Yes.
The we were halfway through the song, and I was giggling because I knew this was a hit single.
Yeah.
And when you have a hit single and you're doing an album, and you come to the point where a song is developed enough so that that you've got a winner, it's a great relief,
Yeah.
because then you can really enjoy it. It's like being a senior in high school and getting into college early admissions. And so you can blow the rest of the year. You can coast.
Well,
So
I was gonna say because Home Sweet Home started pretty much. I won't say they started it because Journey had done the power ballad as well, but
oh,
as far as like the '80s hard rock scene, for sure, Crüe hit Home Sweet Home,
Aerosmith,
and Aerosmith as well. I mean, that's the biggest one I think. Other
yes,
than
it,
I would
it
have to, in my mind, when I'm thinking back,
it set the
uh,
standard.
it just and I from then on, it just seemed like every band had to have a power ballad. Every band, so and so and so and so, they had to. It was going to be the either second or third release, right? And so there was this formula. Did the record companies tell you, okay, they need to have this type of song, and then we're going to release it either the
No,
second or third single?
no, but occasionally a label would, or even a producer like Rick Rubin, would listen to the songs a band wanted to record and say, go back, write some more songs. I don't hear a single is what bands don't want to hear. But a
Right.
lot of people say that. Clive Davis turned down, not rejected the album, but gave it back and said, I don't hear a single. We have to have a single.
Right.
And that was the deal. I mean, a hit single was worth millions of dollars to the label.
Well, and if the band wants to get out on the road and tour and keep the longevity, whether they want a single or not,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
need to have something that's listenable to, right? I
right.
mean, and whether it's catchy or whether it's, and the best ones are the catchy ones, like Girls, right? I mean,
Girls, Cat Scratch Fever,
yes,
Surrender,
yeah, and they're just, I mean,
Flirting
there's
with
so
the
many
Best.
out there.
There's everybody. Not everybody, obviously, but the bands that did really well that I worked with, all had kind of evergreen singles that you'll hear today on classic radio stations, classic rock radio stations.
Commercials as well. I mean, they're out there. I mean, I'm not to harp on go back to Twisted Sister, but I mean, he's one of the anthem kings, and I don't know if he just gets in that rut where every song's got to be an anthem type of deal.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to take it. I mean, geez, that thing blew up like crazy, and it's still, whenever something's going on, we're not going to take it, and everybody knows what that song is, right? So, same thing with Girls. You can go any strip club in America, you're going to hear that song at least once.
Yeah.
So, and going from Theater Pain to Girls, that's a big transition as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that I didn't know, that I was too young to understand what the hell they were talking about until the books come out, right? And then I'm like, oh, okay, Dancing on Glass, heroin. I wouldn't have never known.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah. So, and the way that it's produced is a lot different than the other two. And what was different about that one than the other two?
Well, the biggest difference was Mick. A mixed guitar sound was what I wanted. I always wanted. And it was probably too nice, too clear for for the band. But I thought that I know Shout is the fans' favorite as an album, but I always thought it was just a little muddy, a little too bottomy. The sound of the song "Girls, Girls, Girls" and "Wild Side" is exactly what I like. I liked. I mean,
it's very gritty.
You can hear everything. Nothing was crowding, and it was just wonderful. I actually can't recall all the other songs on that album. I just remember, Girls and Wild Side starting side one. And that was it for me. I mean, I think Wild Side is the best thing they've ever done.
It's very gritty and dangerous. It's, and you can hear it and you can feel it. I mean,
yeah, that's good.
And for me, and then when you listen to the rest of them, you're like, okay, although I would have probably got rid of like Jailhouse Rock. I felt like that one was kind of like, you didn't need to have Elvis in there, maybe. And maybe it was because they're doing the whole dangerous thing, Jailhouse Rock. I get it.
Yeah.
But and some of that stuff is good.
Well, Smoking in the Boys' Room was pretty successful for them.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. So when did you notice that, say, Nikki had a problem with drugs? I mean,
we were doing an album I can't remember the name of the studio in the Valley, where we worked quite a bit Um, and I also wrote about this in the book. Nicky came in to the session around noon, 1 o'clock, and he had a paper bag with him, like a shopping bag. And he came in and he dumped the bag out on the recording console is all candy bars.
Oh,
All candy, like 20 candy bars. And then he left the room, and I asked Dwayne, the engineer, I said, "What's that all about?" And I'll never forget. He looked up at me and said, "Dude, they're junkies." And that was the first time I had considered that they might be doing heroin, because it was always cocaine and booze,
right.
So that was that. And then, I don't know, the Heroin Diaries came out, and there, how are you going to believe everything that a guy writes who's on heroin?
Yeah. Well, I can't. I don't know. I've never done heroin, so I can't really tell you. So I don't know how people are when they are on heroin. I'm surprised they're able to function, from what I hear.
They're relaxed.
But it looks like they're Dave Mustaine heroin. They was spending for Megadeth. He's a big heroin guy, or was. I shouldn't say, but Nikki Sixx heroin. So did that suffer in the studio?
It's hard to tell, because I never knew. I never knew if they were under the influence in the studio. Their behavior in the studio was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Their behavior out of the studio was apparently pretty bad. So, they were serious about their music. They were serious about the recording process. So they didn't party to the extent that it disturbed the session.
Right. Well, they must have liked what you were doing, because they had you back. What? Well, you did 3 albums, but you also did the compilation as well. Red, Right, and Crew. You're credited for that. Is that because you did some of the music that was already on it?
Yeah, you have to be credited for what you produced. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
So any best of albums, if your name is on it, you get credit for that too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
do you double? You get paid double for that?
No,
for the
no,
original
no.
And the second album?
You get paid a fraction. Bands will typically add some demos or some remixes to an album, a re-release or a best of, because they want to get some royalty money.
Right.
If there are 10 songs on an album, then and they come out with a remixed album or something 3 years later, remastered, and then they add a few bonus tracks, then instead of getting paid on 100% of the album, and they put 2 more songs on, you're getting paid on 80% of the album. They're getting paid on 20%. So that makes sense for them.
So and then they re-record a remaster. Does that take away from what you don't get paid for that? You still get paid for the original, right?
Whatever isn't original is belongs to them in terms of money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, because you're credited on the Dirt, the soundtrack for the Dirt. So
that's because some of the songs we did were on there.
Okay,
some
that
of the
makes
songs
sense.
I produced. Yeah, you got to do that.
So once you finish with Crüe, do you hop straight into Poison?
I don't remember. I can't remember. I did Dokken right after Slope. Yeah, I did Tooth and Nail. And
how did that go with George and everything like that?
It was tough with George.
Yeah.
Brilliant guitar player. Brilliant. I mean, killer. But we had a very, very sick and divisive recording engineer who did stuff that really destroyed the trust in the studio. And yeah, George flipped out, and
Well,
I
he from what I heard, he's a little bit hard to work with anyway. Just
possibly,
um,
he was great up until that moment,
yeah,
and he had already done the solo for Tooth and Nail, all the lead work for the song Tooth and Nail, which is, I think, technically probably the best solo guitar solo I've ever heard in terms of composition and technique. I mean, Van Halen,
right,
it's arguable, but George was meticulous and and neat, like Rick Derringer was, and
yeah,
and like Joe Walsh is, and I mean, really precise and good and fast and nice compositions. But that was what really pissed him off, was when I said, "Listen, I can see that you're playing fast, and you are a shredder," and we didn't use that term then, but
right. Yeah, a
I
lot of them
would
didn't like that.
I don't think that this the melody, the direction of your solo is as good as it was on Tooth and Nail. I want you to take us from point A to point B instead of just noodling. And he got, that was it for him.
Well,
I was trying to produce.
yeah. Well, and I you're kind of like a teacher in a way, right? You're like,
Yes,
okay, I'm gonna,
a tutor.
yeah, okay, we'll go with that. And it just sometimes it cracks me up when they say, "Oh, I can't work with this guy," and you're like, "Well, just because he makes recommendations, like you said, it's not it's not your choice; it's their choice, whether they want to do it or not. That's totally right." So,
All you can do is suggest something and just say, let's try it. If they like it, we do it. If they don't like it, we don't do it. Yeah, I can't say you're doing this.
right,
That never happens. It just doesn't happen.
right,
Or you could try to argue with them and say, listen, here's why this is good. Listen to this. Just try this.
right,
But in the end, they're the boss.
yeah, and it's their product, right? I mean,
They
or
hired you. They're paying
and
you. Yeah.
so when you do Poison, they already
Yeah.
kind of blown up, right? Because you're doing the second album,
Yeah.
and that's a little, obviously that sounds a little different. They actually have money now, and so did they choose you to
Um,
produce?
Tom Wally was a capital A&R guy, and he was their A&R guy, and he called me to come in, and he proposed the idea, and then their manager arranged a lunch with me and the band, and that went well, and so we went in, we started to do pre-production and rehearsal, and then Brett played uh, Every Rose in rehearsal on my acoustic guitar, and that changed things.
Yeah, well, and that album's a big sounding album as well.
I
To me,
I think I did a pretty good job helping them out. They were very hard workers. There
yeah,
were there was one guest artist on that album, and that was a harmonica player, Willie Nelson's harmonica player,
oh, okay,
and he's a great guy and a great player. And he did a couple of things that Brett did harmonica, played harmonica, and he didn't do it on two or three songs.
okay, gotcha.
They're
So
very serious, very hardworking, and they love to party.
yes, well,
They they did then.
yeah, well, Brett still likes to party. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what they're partying with or how they're. I know CC's pretty much clean.
He
which
is.
is
He
good.
cleaned up long ago, I
Yeah,
think.
I think Ricky did too as well, because Ricky had cancer
Yep.
not too long ago.
Yeah, I talked
So
to Ricky, and he actually wrote a blurb on the back of my book. Turn It Up.
yeah,
He's a good guy.
yeah, it sounds like it. I have
Yeah.
yet to hear back from his camp, but yeah, for sure. I think that album, that album's a good album, and their follow ups. Well, I
Yeah.
think the first three Poison records are good records.
Uh-huh.
Um, whether doesn't matter who did them, they all sound really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
a couple other ones that you did are that I love is like um, you did LA Guns and you did Junkyard.
Oh yeah.
Um, I love that Junkyard record. That's just I
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I did 3 for Geffen, and none of them worked. And I think they all had their high points. They're really good. The LA Guns record, we kind of split. I didn't completely 100% produce all of the songs. My engineer and our third guy, John Purdell. I gave them a few songs and said, you guys produce this, really." Um, so that I can't really take credit for all of that. I think they did What Happened to Jane.
the Ballad of Jane, and
The Ballad of Jane, right? What happened?
I mean, and that was their breakout moment, really. I mean, for that
I
one.
I guess. The only thing, the main thing I did for that album was title.
Oh,
They were looking for a title, and I said, "What about Cocked and Loaded? It's got like
yeah, play
two
on
different
words.
meanings." And
Good. Yeah. Um, so and another one too is Kicks, Blow My Fuse. You're on
oh
that one. You're
yeah,
credited
yeah,
on that one.
I love that. Love that.
Um, that was probably their biggest album as well.
Probably, yeah.
And they, the sound on that one's very good as well. And then of course you did Striper as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Is that
I
correct?
just saw those guys. I just visited them in Springfield. They make an album a year still,
Yeah, I know.
and
And Michael
wonderful.
Sweet's doing stuff with George Lynch, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Amazing,
yeah.
really.
So I mean, to me, that's dedication.
Dedication, and it's miraculous as far as I'm concerned that those two guys would actually collaborate.
Yeah,
Those are very good people. Striper, they're
I
just
would hope so, right?
wonderful. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they should be. They're godly.
yeah. Well, mine was the first. That Against the Law was the first album that they said they didn't want to be a religious album. They wanted it to be secular. Is that the
Oh,
word?
okay, I gotcha.
And yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess they would have been like, okay, well, they would have to write it. I mean, if
yeah,
they didn't, however they want it. So I guess, so I'm gonna kind of, did you, since the passing of Ozzy and everything in the last couple weeks,
yeah.
did you ever work with Ozzy or have any dealings with him?
No, Motley toured with Ozzy a lot,
Right.
but no, I never did. I was never honestly a Black Sabbath fan. I didn't have any of their records. I didn't have any Iron Maiden records. I didn't have any. I was not a metal guy. I was a pop guy, and I basically hired to get these bands on the radio. What are we going to do with this band? What are we going to do with these guys? Give it to Werman. He can do, he can get a single out of this band. So that was the deal. Um, you know, Cheap Trick was right where I wanted to be in terms of musical style.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, they're a classic good rock and roll band, right? I
Yeah,
mean, they're
yeah,
just right there. And they still sound good, and they still almost look the same, minus
Uh,
a few others. But I mean, um, so over the years, is there anybody that you wanted to work with and didn't get a chance to?
People have asked me that. The ones that here, this is my daughter's. He just jumped up in my lap. Uh, the ones that I really loved and wanted, would have wanted to work with, didn't need a producer, because they were that good. I mean, the Eagles could produce
Oh, yeah, yeah.
themselves, right?
Uh-huh.
The Who, they didn't. I mean, they had Glenn Johns, who was wonderful. He was kind of my role model.
Okay.
And he did the Eagles too. But they didn't. They don't need. I think that if I had had the opportunity to do that, I would not have been as valuable, anywhere near as valuable to those bands as I was to the bands that I worked with.
Right. I would agree with that because
Yeah.
with the Eagles, it's hard to,
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, every song they put out is gold, right? So
It's amazing. I saw them at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
oh, did you?
It was life-changing. Not so much them as because I've seen them before, but you got to go.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I do want to go.
Everyone has to go.
I heard it's an experience for sure.
I can't, it's indescribable. Really, it was just that good. Anyway,
I'm surprised that you didn't work with like Wasp or was that out of your wheelhouse? Maybe.
well, no, not at all. But having worked with Mötley,
You didn't need to.
yeah, really, everything else was not necessarily derivative, but I'd had that. I'd been in that swimming pool, and I didn't want to jump back in. That's all.
Right.
I mean, Poison was quite different. They were much more pop, and had songs that were
More fun, lighthearted.
more fun, more sing in the shower
Mm-hmm.
kind of songs, and the whole Sunset Strip scene that followed Mötley,
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't boring to me, but as far as I was concerned, Mötley was the best of that.
Well, there's one other band that comes out of that scene, who has almost about just as many singles as Mötley did, and that's Rat.
Yeah.
Were you ever approached to do a Rat album? Because I've heard certain band members out of Rat complain that they always got the same producer, and they blame it on the record company. And like we were talking about earlier, they pick the producer unless that was in their contract or something. I don't really know. I can't say for sure.
The label has a lot of power.
Okay.
And not so much influence, but they can say, we want you to use this producer, and you don't want to piss the label off.
Right.
If you're a band, and they'll say, I told you should have used that producer. This, anyway.
Well, and I think their main complaint was Rat always sounded like Rat, the previous Rat album.
I see.
And to their point, that's true. But I like those albums. I like everything that the Rat has done. I have no complaints on that. So I guess as an artist, you kind of want to grow and try and do new things. I get it. And
they were very tight with Mötley.
Yeah. Did they ever come to the studio?
Oh yeah, and Robin and Nikki, I think, had shared an apartment, way before they had any success at all. Robin was a great guy. It's a shame.
And tall as well. Yeah, he was. Well, his downfall was heroin, right? And then ended up getting AIDS out of that, and and we've lost a lot, and then
Yeah.
we're starting to lose them now. They're
Oh
just
yeah.
like it's crazy, and
Well,
I obviously we don't want any more, but everybody's getting
no, hey,
older.
we all
Jesus,
we're all going to die. Everything that lives dies
that
eventually. And in my generation, I mean, here I'm 80, and they're
you
dropping
don't
like
look it.
flies, you know. Well,
You do not look 80 at all.
thank you, thank you. Uh, um, there are people, how old? There are very few uh, rock and roll deaths that that have been from people older than I am.
Hmm.
They're all rather premature,
Yeah,
I think, and I believe me, I did not take care of my body. There were pounds of cocaine and a lot of alcohol and 40 years of smoking,
right,
all in a windowless room with with very
right.
little
In a
ventilation,
plane.
very little ventilation, and so I'm lucky. Um, but really, I mean, you can statistically, I did read many years ago that you know your average rock and roll guy died perhaps 8 years before the male longevity
Oh,
expectancy. I think it's 78, 80
oh
now.
yeah, yeah,
The average male, maybe it's gone down, but yeah, it's not
well, I mean,
there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of
yeah,
self.
I mean, we lost Jeff Beck, which was
Oh yeah,
last year, and that was kind of unexpected for me. I didn't even know. Well, half the time we're not gonna know, right? We're not gonna know
yeah.
if they
I
don't
love.
want you to
Yeah,
know.
I had
So,
a very nice brief friendship with Jeff when I went out to his house in outside London, and I executive produced that Jan Hammer album
mhm,
live. So he was a prince. I mean, he had no ego at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's just seemed like a very chill guy, you know.
Yes. He was
Just
shy. He was actually a little shy.
oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, and he just loved hot rods. That was his main passion, cars. And and he played the guitar effortlessly.
Yeah.
I was once I went in the studio. Just he and I were in the studio during that recording of that tour with Jan Hammer, and we worked on rough mixes and fixing some of his guitar clams. There were some of his mistakes, and I'll never forget that. That was about the biggest star time. It was like, if only my mom could see me now.
Right, 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 right,
Here I am telling Jeff Beck what to do.
right.
You just play along, and I'll get you in and out of record. No, just do it. Yeah,
Awesome. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I have a couple more questions. So,
yeah, sure.
um, what do you feel is your greatest accomplishment?
Accomplishment? You mean
Yeah.
producing?
As far as like albums go, what's your favorite out of
That would
everything
be
you've done?
probably Heaven Tonight, Cheap
Tonight?
Trick. Yeah, or Dream Police. I think the arrangements, the playing, the production, it's just great stuff. Just great
Well,
stuff.
those albums are all going to stand the test of time. They already have. I mean, shoot, what is it? 30 years later, 40 years
Yeah,
later?
I think they should have. Always thought they should have been much bigger than they were. I mean, they're okay. They're a big band, but God, I love them. I love working with them. I love.
Well, I mean, shoot, they put Live at Budokan is like on the map for like one of the best live albums, right? I mean, can't beat that as well.
Right.
Um, other than um, Shoot.
Well, don't forget Double Live Gonzo.
That's what I was gonna say as well. That that one's a good one too. And so it's awesome that you can look back at your career and go, I did all right. I did.
Oh yes,
I made my mark,
I,
and nobody can take that away from me ever, whether they're pissed off at me for something stupid or not. Right?
it's true. I did. I'm very satisfied with what I did, and I think I did well. I certainly did better than, or I was more successful than I thought I would be in life. And then I put it all down in the book, and that closed the chapter. That was it was like about a year and a half ago. It came out, and I was first I was retired, and then after the book, I'm fully retired, and these are the best days of my life because I can look back at that, and I sold my royalties about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
so
you could do that.
yeah, oh yeah, remember Dylan got like
So,
300
you sold them to like BlackRock or whoever,
to
or
it's called a special project acquisition company,
okay,
SPAC. And they did buy. There was a whole spree uh,
yes, I remember that.
of buying royalties, publishing royalties, writing royalties, um, and that set me free really because I at the time I said they'll never make this back.
Right.
What they paid me, they'll never make it back, and I was definitely wrong because streaming has it's all there is.
Yeah, for sure.
When you can when you take many billions of people in the world who have access to the internet 24 hours a day, which means they can hear any song ever recorded basically
Mhm.
whenever they want, wherever they want.
And they can
A tenth of a penny, but it sure adds up.
and they can throw that song in an advertisement, and they
Yeah.
can go on YouTube, and you're watching the video that you just paid money on, and you're getting paid on a commercial that has that song in it. So you're getting,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Licensing.
I never knew how any of that stuff worked, or I'm with you. I was like, how are they ever going to recoup their money from all
Well,
these
the deal
artists
is,
that they're selling to and buying from?
well, these the people who bought my royalties, they have a department that just works to license
Oh,
the songs that my
okay.
productions. And so I'll hear them in a movie, I'll hear them in an ad, and
Believe it or not, you're going to hear them in the supermarket, because I have, and I'm
oh yeah,
like,
those are yeah.
when did that happen? I just don't know. I go into the grocery store, and I'm listening to stuff I was listening to as a teenager that you would never ever hear before. It's not elevator music anymore, right? It's
Right. Absolutely. And yeah, it's great. That's why they call certain songs evergreen.
Oh
Because
yes, yeah,
there's a classic rock radio station in every town or every city
yeah, yep,
in this country, and there are certain songs that are on all of their playlists,
yep,
and always will be.
yeah.
Really, I mean,
It,
there are kids who know songs that are 50 years old now or more.
mm-hmm. So how do you ever go on YouTube and watch reactions of people reacting to some of the songs that you produced?
No,
And you know what that is?
no.
It's like, I don't say kids because they're not all kids, but they're playing the video, right? And they're just like listening, and they're like, I don't even know who this Mötley Crüe band is, right? And they listen to a song, and they're just like, wow, the 80s must have been fun and this and that and blah blah blah, and they just critique. Basically they're critiquing the song, but
Ah,
it's kind of funny because I never hear anybody give a bad review. It's
well,
just it's just one of them things.
that
But
would be refreshing to
right.
me.
But it's funny because I'm thinking that not only does that generate, I don't know how that works with the streaming world, because of copyright issues, But getting that out there to younger generations, right? That now they know what girls is or home sweet home is because
Yeah.
they reacted to this video that was done 40 years ago.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying is it's not dying anytime soon. As far as like, it doesn't matter what it is. I think now you got such a database full of music. Everything's at your
And,
fingertips,
yeah,
right?
and
So
it's a closed era. I mean, it is. You can generally, say it started in 1954 and ended, if you want, in 1998 or something like that.
mhm.
And that was rock and roll.
Yeah.
And how it developed. And anyway, it's
I'm interested to see how it moves forward in the
yeah,
next 5 years. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious on what everything's going to look like in 5 years.
yeah.
Um,
Well, my workout playlist is has songs from the 70s
yeah.
and
Right. Yeah.
mostly 70s and 80s. So they all work for me. They
Yeah.
continue to work for me. They'll inspire me. It's just today's music doesn't do the same, and I think it's the repetition. I think
It could be for sure.
like
Um,
the perfection.
so I don't want to keep you too much longer. So tell me about your book.
Well, the book tells it all. Basically, briefly, how I grew up, why I started on the track that I did, why I said this is not right, and went into rock and roll, and how I developed, as an A&R man, and then became a producer, and and had a great life with. It was a hell of a way to make a living, and I mean it was wonderful, and I just talk about my experience with a lot of people and a lot of bands. There are some things in there about that no one else would know, like a couple of nights with John Belushi, just he and I, and meeting George Harrison and talking with him for a minute and stuff like that.
Right.
Kind of I've gotten great feedback on the book, and I talk about what makes a song a hit, basically, and what a producer does. I mean, there's a chapter that says, what does a record producer actually do? Because people don't know.
Right.
Think you're a manager or
Yeah. I would have. Yeah,
what,
I would. I had the same impressions
yeah.
until I talking to you about what exactly
Oh, you do
do and
everything.
how the interactions are, because I was always under the impression that, you know, not that you can tell them what to do, but you kind of, you know what I mean? I
You're
think there
the
was a different power structure than I thought.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And the standard response is, what did you do before you were an innkeeper? I was an innkeeper. And you say, I was a record producer. Oh, which bands did you represent? No. I was the musical director. You say, I was to a recording what a director is to a movie. And that's the closest you can get.
so,
So the book is, it's like,
yeah, what's it called?
it's called Turn It Up, and you can get
Okay.
it anywhere, basically.
Okay, I have to
And
go check it out. I wanna.
yeah, you will like it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that to promote it. I mean, it came out a year and a half ago, and I still get letters from people who read it, and emails from people who read it, who say it was different from the other books they've read. There are a lot of crappy rock and roll books out there.
Oh,
Really.
there's a lot of them too.
And I think that people were surprised that anybody who worked with a band like Mötley Crüe could actually complete a sentence. You know, they're
Right.
delight. They said it's great. It's an easy read. I couldn't put it down. Blah blah. It's very informative. And if you want to
Good.
know what the record industry was like in the 70s and 80s, this is it.
Well, because a lot of times you only hear the band's point of view, right? Um, on record company and this and that and this and that, and
Right.
so it's kind of I'm definitely interested. So,
Yeah, read it.
it's
You can
good.
read it in 2 days.
Oh,
2 days.
I could do that.
Yeah.
So, did you ever miss being at A&R
No.
and just doing, or was it just too much travel?
Oh, being an A&R man?
Yeah.
Too much. It's like publish or perish. You've got to have a certain batting average,
Oh,
in
yeah.
order to keep your job, because everybody wants your job. A&R is the most wonderful, glamorous, most
Can be.
enjoyable department.
Yeah.
Everybody knows because the buck starts there, and it's different now. My son is an A&R at Warner Records in LA.
Okay.
And it's completely different.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
I'm sure.
totally different. And it doesn't sound like he's having fun, but it doesn't sound like fun to me.
Huh.
So, but I don't miss it, and I honestly don't miss the recording studio. I had plenty. I'm happy with almost everything I did. That's it. I have a great life now. It's free. I get to do whatever I want, and there are a lot of things that I do beside playing golf.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Tom, for hanging out with me,
Been fun.
going through, some of these albums. Maybe after I read your book, we'll have you back on if I want to
Sure, you
chat
you
some
may
more.
you may have questions. I'd be delighted to talk with you further.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your day and have a good weekend.
Thanks. Same with
Thank
you.
you, Tom.
Been fun. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Denny.